Hello guys, this is Justin McGowan and welcome back to this channel. Now I have something interesting to share. Like, as you all know, the NHL trading deadline is getting close and all that. And something interesting happened, like a couple of days ago. You know there's a YouTube channel called Sportsnet. That they basically have sports content, including hockey content. And a few days ago, there was this video made by a YouTuber named Levanta. And in that video, he talked about the upcoming video, talking about the mock trade deadline. And they said that if he wanted to be in a Sportsnet YouTube video, to put down in the comments about the trade deadline predictions and all that. Once I saw that, I thought, why not go in? And then I put in the comments about my trade deadline idea. So I waited for yesterday on Monday, for when the video comes out, and I'm happy to announce that I made it. I've appeared in a Sportsnet video. Yes, one of the channels I follow, one of the channels I watch many contents, and now I'm in one of these videos. So today, we're gonna be reacting to that video. So this is gonna be exciting.
Hello guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be reviewing and reacting to your NHL mock trades that you guys submitted for the 2022 trade deadline. Now if you don't know, over the past week on YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere, we put out a call to action to you guys to send in your trade ideas that you could see happening at the deadline this year, and we got some absolutely amazing ones. But when it comes to your trade ideas, which were the best, which were the worst, and which ideas could I actually see happening at this year's NHL trade deadline? Watch till the end for the best of your guys' ideas, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already to the Sportsnet YouTube channel, the best sports content around. And without further ado, let's get into the shenanigans that you guys came up with. Now, we're first going to go through the trade ideas from the YouTube shorts, and one of the first ideas we got came from Dusty Fishbowl, a legendary name, and he proposes a pretty big deal between the Oilers and the Blackhawks. For the Oilers, they will receive Dominic Kubalik, a second-round pick, and Marc-Andre Fleury. In exchange, the Blackhawks get Mike Smith, Tyson Barrie, and a first-round pick. Now, this trade is interesting because with Kubalik and Fleury, those two guys solve pretty big holes. You got some more depth scoring, and you got a starting goaltender who can actually play in the playoffs, which Mike Smith definitely cannot. Now, it might be maybe Mikko Koskinen instead of Mike Smith to make the cap work, but I think you're getting in the right direction. At the same time, though, Chicago has announced their rebuild, so I feel like they'd rather have a defensive prospect like a Dmitry Samorukov, perhaps, instead of a Tyson Barrie. At the same time, though, I think this trade is very interesting, and even though it might still need some changes, I feel like for the Oilers, if they're able to get even one of Marc-Andre Fleury or Dominic Kubalik, that would be a pretty big success, and would set them up so much better for the playoffs this year.
I like how they mentioned that Hawks are rebuilding, yet they're willing to trade some draft picks and a young Dominic Kubalik, which is part of the rebuild and all that. Although this season has been struggling, and that's strange that the solution to rebuilding is by trading an old goalie for another old goalie. So I mean, so much for a rebuild if you're just gonna trade something old for something that's also old. But
now this next trade is pretty interesting, involving the Blues and the Rangers, and it goes as follows. For the Rangers, they will acquire Pavel Buchnevich, and for the Blues, they will acquire a second-round pick in Sammy Blais. Now, I don't know where this trade is coming from. Nothing like this has ever happened in the history of the NHL, but to get this big of a steal is insane. I mean, for the Blues, imagine offering Sammy Blais and his second-round pick. Imagine how dumb you need to be.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly creeping left planted seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Imagine? But now going to a trade offer that will actually happen this deadline, my goodness. Let's move on to a trade offer with Sports Gamer 91, proposing an interesting deal with the Leafs and the Blue Jackets. For the Leafs, they'll acquire Max Domi and Dean Kukan. In exchange, the Blue Jackets will get Justin Hall and a 2022 first rounder. Now, I saw a lot of different ideas proposing Max Domi to the Leafs, and honestly, I could definitely see it. The versatility, playing all forward options, and having the speed that he has, I think will be super valuable to the Leafs. And you also got Dean Kukan, who is another interesting piece. When he has been healthy this year, played a pretty good two-way role in Columbus. Some solid depth options there, and you get rid of Justin Hall as well. That could be worth a first-round pick, though I think for the Leafs, maybe a second or third could still get that deal done.
Now that we're talking about Justin Hall, all I just gotta say is, dude, what the hell happened to Justin Hall?
Next one is especially interesting, involving the Leafs and the Canucks. Now, Jelly Jim says this: Toronto trades Justin Hall, Alexander Kerfoot, and a first for JT Miller. Now, I don't want to be really mean, but at the same time, for the Canucks, if they are going to trade JT Miller, we know that cap space is their number one priority. If they do trade Miller, I feel like a first and more prospect-oriented package would come on Miller's side. I really doubt the Canucks would want Justin Hall whatsoever. So, personally, I don't see this quite happening.
But they might want Kerfoot.
But now going to a more realistic JT Miller proposal, in my opinion, involving the Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks. And this one comes from Justin, and he proposes this: the Canucks will receive Vitaly Kravtsov and Nils Lundqvist, a 2022 first-rounder.
There I am, guys. There is my trade idea. There I am. I'm in the video. I'm in.
2023 second rounder, and of course the Rangers will get JT Miller. Now, I personally see Besser and Garland as way more likely to get dealt this deadline, but if we do see a JT Miller trade, I feel like this is what it would look like. And the big piece is being a first round pick in Nils Lundqvist. That's obvious, but also having good value in Kravtsov with a second round pick. I think it makes this pretty realistic and pretty real to what a JT Miller trade would look like.
Exactly. I've been thinking about the trade deadline for a long time, and I definitely heard rumors about the Miller trade, and this idea, this is what I saw in the article. I don't know if I'm right about this or I just tweaked it a bit, but that is what I saw. I mean, it's like trading Nils Lundqvist for Miller. It's like payback for trading Miller to the Lightning and all of that. And Kravtsov, yeah, I mean, it's a good prospect. And if he goes to Vancouver, I know Vancouver would give him a chance, unlike the Rangers did. I mean, like, it's gonna suck to see, it would suck to see Kravtsov go, but if it means getting JT Miller back, I don't mind making this at all.
Now, speaking of realistic, we got this next one from Jingle Octopus, and they propose this. To the Montreal Canadiens, they will receive McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and to the Edmonton Oilers, they will acquire the entire Montreal Canadiens franchise. And personally, I mean, Marty St. Louis exists. He is the most valuable player in the entire league. Okay,
yeah.
Did you see those thighs? They don't lie. I'm sorry to say. Now this next...
McDavid and Draisaitl for the entire franchise. I mean, like, if that was made, that would put the Oilers into being contracted, and this would have been the final season. It's like, fans would stop coming for the games, they're losing a lot of money, and they'll end up becoming the next Atlanta Thrashers. So, and meanwhile, that move's going to bring Montreal back into the playoffs and possibly Stanley Cup, and might make them become the next St. Louis Blues.
Next one is really good. Of course, you have to evolve some big talent here, and it involves some big pieces. This one is interesting. Steve Dangle to Colorado for producer Drew to Toronto. Personally, I mean, this is a great deal for Steve. He gets to upgrade from consistent first-round losses to consistent second-round losses. Pretty good deal for him, I gotta say.
I don't think Steve or producer Drew want to go to a different team. I'm pretty sure they would rather stick in the same team. Well, I mean, on the bright side for Steve, at least he would witness a team that makes it further into the playoffs, and he gets to go past the first round and win the President's Trophy at all times. And at least he gets to watch producer Drew be on the shoes and be like, that's how it feels.
This next one is another pretty interesting Philip Zadina trade proposal coming from my boy Tristan. He proposes this. For the Detroit Red Wings, they will end up getting Eric Brandstrom in exchange for Philip Zadina. And personally, this is an interesting one. With Brandstrom, he's a guy that could also use a change of scenery, just like Philip Zadina. And I think could work pretty well in that power play going into the future and could add some offensive push for this Red Wings core going into the future. And with Philip Zadina, I think he could work pretty well under DJ Smith and potentially a more gritty system in Ottawa and could bounce back there. There's some interesting potential here, though, and a 1-for-1 would certainly be fascinating. Now, for this next one, we got a pretty huge 1-for-1 trade coming from Time for Hockey, and he proposes this between the Islanders and the Canucks. The Islanders will receive Brock Besser, and in exchange, Vancouver will end up getting defenseman Noah Dobson. Now, personally, although I'm not 100% convinced that Besser needs to be traded for Vancouver, at the same time, they are going to deal him. Noah Dobson is probably the best asset you could possibly hope to receive. For the Canucks, we know they want younger defensemen, especially in a potential Connor Garland trade, but to me, this is hitting two birds with one stone. Noah Dobson has been great this season on a pretty struggling Islanders team, and I feel like he'd be perfect in Vancouver's system with the mobility that he has. But we're going to go...
Yeah, I gotta say, Dobson is doing great. It's like, I mean, like, last I saw, he is the highest scoring defenseman in the Islanders, even over Pelech and Pollock.
Couple Twitter comments here, and the first one is from Sam, who proposes a pretty interesting Leafs and Kraken trade, and he said this. To the Leafs, they'll receive Mark Giordano, 50% retained, Calle Yarncroc, and Riley Sheahan. In exchange, the Kraken will get Travis Dermott, Ilya Mikheyev, a second-round pick in 2022, conditional, would turn into a first if the Leafs win the Cup, and then 2023 fourth-round pick. And then Justin goes on to say the conditional should turn into a first if the Leafs make it out of the first round. And personally, I think both sides are kind of making some great points here. I think it would be a very interesting trade for the Leafs to get not just Mark Giordano, but a solid depth piece in Calle Yarncroc and potentially a fourth line center on Riley Sheahan. And for the Kraken, I could see where the value is coming back for. Obviously, you got Travis Dermott, who's a very solid young defenseman. Not going to be like this absolute stud, but a solid piece. And you also potentially have a first-round pick, but I agree. If the Leafs want to get past the first round, this is the type of deal that would definitely help them, and especially with how Jake Muzzin has regressed this season, adding another leadership guy like
just
Mark
like
Giordano,
what happened to Muzzin,
especially on that defense. But going on to Mike King and Drenigovich, he proposes a trade between the Devils and the Canucks, and he says this. To the Devils, they will receive Brock Besser, and for the Canucks, they will get Ty Smith, Pavel Zacha, a 2022 second, and a fourth-round pick. Now, compared to Noah Dobson, I would definitely take the Islanders' offer if that were on the table, but at the same time, I feel like this is a pretty realistic offer for what Brock Besser will be able to get back. Yes, Ty Smith hasn't been absolutely amazing, especially defensively in his NHL career, but I think with the Canucks, they could obviously, with Quinn Hughes already, develop pretty good offensive defenseman. You also got Pavel Zacha, who I think is a very underrated middle six piece, and you got a second-round pick and fourth-round pick on top of that. Maybe you want to have a third instead of a fourth there, but at the same time, I think that's pretty accurate to what the Canucks are going to be able to get. Now, we're going to go through an Instagram comment here by Jason. Honestly, this might be the worst trade offer I have ever seen in my entire life. And Jason says this. I know, it's going to be crazy. He says, Connor McDavid for Sean Avery. I don't know who in their right mind thinks that Connor McDavid is the same amount of value as Sean Avery. Okay, this right here, this is Connor McDavid. All the way up here is Sean Avery's value. Okay, I want to set the record straight. Okay, this McDavid, this Avery, that is how it goes. If you have to include Draisaitl, first round pick, 2023 first round pick to even get close to Avery's level. It's just not happening. I'm sorry to say. Now,
wow, but Sean Avery is not even playing hockey anymore. He's retired. But really, to trade away the best player in the team for a bottom sixer. I mean, Sean Avery's great, but to get him by giving up Connor McDavid, it's just like it would be like the Milan Lucic signing all over again.
Going on to Nintendo fans' offer where he says this: Jacob Chikrin to LA in exchange for Sean Dursey, Alex Turcotte, and a first-round pick. Now, personally, I actually really like this trade offer. Realistically, I think for the LA Kings, Jacob Chikrin is a really good fit. He's a guy that's really could help their future and their now. And I think this is a pretty accurate trade. There maybe could be like a second-round pick on top of this. You get a pretty great defensive prospect in Sean Dursey, who's been great this year. You got Alex Turcotte, who hasn't been too good in LA system yet, but could explode in Arizona, and you got a first-round pick and a potential pick on top of that, in my opinion, which could be included. To me, that would be a pretty accurate and interesting offer for the Coyotes that I think they could accept. But now going on to a really good one from Piper, and they say this: Yaroslav Halak for $3 for a bag of corn chips. Now, personally for me, I think it's on the right track, but I feel like $2 is a little more realistic for Halak. I mean, $3, we're really getting too much at that point. And even a bag of corn chips, I mean, $2 in a bag of corn chips, you might get there, but $3, I might have to say no on that one.
But then again, Chris Draper got traded for like $1 or something like that. And then there's this guy from the old Jets that got traded for a bus. And I'm not making this up.
Going on to Quinn's potential trade offer, this one involving the Oilers, and he says this: Mikko Koskinen, an Oilers 2022 first, and Raphael Lavoie for Semyon Varlamov. And this one is interesting because with Varlamov, his health has kind of been in question, not just throughout his career, but especially over the past year. He hasn't played that many games this season, but I think for the Oilers, he'd be a very interesting addition. I mean, he's way better than Koskinen and Mike Smith right now, and I think come playoff time, he'd add a lot more value. But I think, honestly, for just a first-round pick of Mikko Koskinen, I could see this deal happening come trade deadline day. Now, this is another interesting one coming from Rohan, and he proposes a JT Miller for Philip Forsberg 1-for-1. Personally, I don't know what to even think of this deal. I think for the Preds, it would be interesting for them since Miller has more longevity and more leadership there. And for the Preds, they're kind of sneaky in this playoff race and could add something like that, and maybe it pushes them farther into the playoffs. For the Canucks, though, I feel like one of the main reasons why they keep JT Miller is because of that leadership. And with Philip Forsberg, that's not as prevalent in his game. So for the Canucks, it might not make as much sense. But I think for the Preds, this would be a very interesting deal, again, if they can't sign Philip Forsberg especially.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win trade. It's like the Callahan and St. Louis trade.
This next one comes from Callie, and she says this: Jost plus a prospect for Claude Giroux. Now, this won't happen because you need to include at least Nathan McKinnon.
Tyler Jost, yeah. Either McKinnon or Landeskog or Rantanen or Makar.
Second round again with Claude Giroux on their roster, I will be the most miserable person to all Avs fans out there. It is not going to be pretty. If it is Claude Giroux, though, good luck, because I really wanted to win him the Stanley Cup, but it's going to be bad when he loses in the second round. I just got to say it. Now, for my last few trade proposals, this is, in my opinion, the funniest thing that we got out of this video.
Boy.
And it's the fact that on the Instagram story comments, there was this guy called Jake Osborne, who is just the funniest man alive. Because what this guy did was
just
he put three different
anywhere.
trade proposals that went as follows.
But Lehkonen for second and Kravtsov? No. No, that is not a good trade. I mean, second round, great, but Lehkonen, I mean, it's not as bad as the Buchnevich and Blake trade, but just no. A potential top 6 for a third liner at best.
Giroux to Bolts, Giroux to Caps, Giroux to Leafs, like the entire league. Jake wants Giroux to go to, and honestly, like...
How about Giroux to Rangers?
The more I think about it, the more it just kind of feels like maybe Jake is just Claude Giroux in disguise. I mean, Jake, excuse me, I'm honored that you would want to be a part of this video, but if you're this desperate to get moved, that you go on an Instagram story for us and put like 3 different destinations... Are you okay? Anyways,
yes, he wants to be a legend, and he has done that. He's a legend. It's because desperation, it's hard work, and by doing that, you've made it yourself there.
No cap.
Probably just a younger cousin of Claude Giroux that's just going on his behalf. And you know what, Jake? I appreciate you. You're fighting the good fight. But that'll be it for today. We had some amazing trade offers in today's video, and some honestly really realistic ones on top of some of the funny ones and the bad ones, like Sean Avery for Connor McDavid. I mean, still, again, I cannot believe that anybody thinks that Sean Avery is even close to the peasant level of Connor McDavid. It's offensive, but at the same time, those trade offers still need to come, and they're still pretty funny to look at. So
you need to be careful, man. Connor McDavid is not just a peasant. And as a Ranger fan, I can tell you that.
Oilers got the matchup they wanted. Rangers having trouble changing here. McDavid, beautiful move. What can you say?
That's at least that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you did enjoy this one, make sure that like button, hit that subscribe button to the Sports YouTube channel if you haven't already. Comment down below your thoughts on these mock trades, and let me know all your thoughts down below. Make sure you share this video with your friends, get the mock trades out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for participating, for your input on the 2022 deadline, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
So that was it. That was the mock draft for the 2022 trading deadline, and you got to see my idea for a trade being in this video. But seriously, I really want this trade to happen. It's like jury, I hope you're watching this. I hope you're watching this. The moves you made for a lot of the season, with the exception of Barclay Goodrow, even though it's overpaid, is not good. And the Buchnevich and Blade trade is the worst you've ever did. It's like, I thought the McDonough and Miller trade was bad, but this is even worse. There's seriously, if you want to be forgiven, if you want me to respect you, if you want to keep your job in Madison Square Garden, do us one favor. Please give us JT Miller back. Look at that trade idea and use that. It's like we need Miller. It would be great to have him back. Even if it means losing Vitaly Gratsov and a first-round pick. Please, if you can do that trade, if you can make it a reality, I and the Rangers fans will forgive you. And possibly, and if possible, do a reverse Buchnevich trade if possible. But either way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope your trade ideas are there. So if you're watching this video, please comment down below about your ideas for the trading deadline. And after the trading deadline, please comment down below if your ideas became a reality. So until then, please subscribe to Sportsnet. Sportsnet has great content and all the stuff you enjoy and all that. And while you're at it, please make sure to also just subscribe to Griffithab. Thank you for including me in the Sportsnet video. I will never forget it. And I need you all to please enjoy both of their contents. So with that said, this has been Justin McGolan. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and God bless America.
Do what it takes.